Guys, welcome back to the Horse Girls podcast. My name is Nana Sarfo, and this is where chaos and glamour finds a distance. Season 2. Sorry guys, I had to take a long hiatus from this podcast because I needed it. I'm not even gonna apologize. This podcast is actually hell. I'm sorry guys, literally, I love hosting this podcast for you guys, but I dislike this podcast so freaking much at this point. It is hell. It is just hell. Let me tell you, I cannot have a decent podcast day, ever, and I have a tiny mic that I have to literally hold. Honestly, I think it's cuter when you hold it instead of I don't want to place it down. I think it's awkward. But anyways, I got a mic, so I guess that's better. But I am literally so tired of this podcast, you guys. I wish you could see the setup I have right now. A lamp, a really bright light that is literally shining in my face, and another ring light, and I have my helmet on, and it's dark. I started filming at 6. It's now 8:30 because cameras died. Everything, as always, malfunctions. That happens every time we start this podcast. Please, if you want this podcast, look, the light just died. If you want this podcast to continue, please, oh my God, like this podcast, subscribe, but oh my God, comment, please, because that's what actually boosts the podcast. When you guys do not comment on this dang podcast, I want to lose it, because the amount of effort that I put into these episodes, you guys, please let me know. If you want the podcast to continue, let me know. Be vocal, comment, get into the discussion. Even if it's hate, dude, just leave hate, please. Just leave hate. Leave anything, please. Because that's what boosts the content. A long paragraph of hate boosts my video like crazy. So just comment, say words, so these episodes get boosted, and then more people find it, and then more people follow it, and then that makes me motivated to film these horrible episodes. I'm gonna cry. But anyways, season 2 is possible, because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, guys. Again, this podcast is so hard. I was literally ready to quit on it. I was just about done. Season 2 is possible because of We Ride Together. They are my sponsors. Thank you for saving this podcast. Everybody go follow We Ride Together, because they're the reason that this podcast is still going on. Without them, I think I would be straight up done. I'm so over this shit. So thank you, We Ride Together, and I will get into their advertisement a little later into the episode. Let's just actually get started with this, because my light clearly has already died, so we need to get started so I can get out of this dark, because I got moths around me. Moths are loving the ring lights right now. But isn't this cute? It's barn ghost stories, or ghost stories in the barnyard. Isn't that iconic? This podcast is now we're really telling scary ghost barn stories. So kick back, join the Horse Girls podcast after hours. That's what I should name this episode. Okay, I'm gonna revive this light, but if it just dies again, it just dies, and we're gonna just survive without it. Honestly, I think the lighting's fine without it, but I would like the light because it's really bright, and honestly brighter than this entire podcast future. So let's see if we can revive that. Just give me a second. Okay, I really need to finish this episode really fast, because the bugs are working on demon time over here. I just saw this creepiest bug in my entire life, so I actually grabbed my camera remote if I need to swat any bugs away this episode. Literally terrified. So our topic today is going to be equestrian movies. I really don't understand equestrian movies, equestrian shows, so we're just really going to talk about that, and we just need to go on a deep dive of why equestrian movies are so bad, why horse girl movies are awful, why they never really represent us, and then I'm going to go over some of the different shows that I grew up watching and why they were just never accurate. First, I feel horse movies are so bad. And the reason they're bad is because they're so stereotypical, and not in the best way. They just follow these, like, I don't know, some director sat down and was like, I'm gonna make a horse movie, I'm gonna make a lot of money making equestrian movies. And obviously, okay, he didn't know anything about horses or whatever. Like, we're not sitting here saying that you have to know anything about horses. But, like, he was like, I'm gonna make this template, right? Which is basically the criteria all horse movies follow, right? Every single horse movie starts off with the girl who is having trouble at school or got in trouble with her friends somewhere and is sent off to live with her old grandpa in a farm. And this old grandpa is usually like an awful person. Like, he's super grumpy and nobody knows why he's grumpy, but he's like so grumpy. Or, you know, the family lost their money and they have had to move to the countryside with their grandpa and their grandparents. And the grandma's always dead. And the mom is usually single, or the dad is usually single. Like, the whole single parent arc, we need to talk about that. That's a whole separate conversation. But someone's dead in the family. And for some reason, they just have these stories that every horse movie follows. And it's always about, you know, a girl who doesn't know anything about horses. Then overnight, she gets magical powers and she can, weirdly enough, ride. And she's magic, so she connects with all the horses in the land and all the horses love her. And usually, like, the grandpa's like really abusive. He's like, oh my god, this horse never listens, I'm about to like beat up this horse. And the girl's like, no, you can't. And she like gets in the middle and she's like, whoa horse, whoa. And the horse like whoas, and it's this whole like magical happy ever after. And she's like able to ride the horse bareback without having any lessons. She's able to tack up the horse without knowing anything about horses. Like, every horse movie follows this pattern. And I'm like, why? Like, why are all horse movies like following that pattern? Why did one director come up with this and then every other director looked at him and was like, this man's a genius, this is the formula that we're going to follow? You know, like the hero's journey, right? Like, I don't even know if it's actually called that, but it's like basically like a circle of like what every like hero or thriller or just heroic movie follows. I feel like the horse girl that finds herself through horses and can magically ride horses overnight and is troubled and is stubborn and is really annoying is the hero's journey of the equestrian world. And I don't know what this is about, but directors for some reason do not hire real equestrians for their movies. So like, every time there's like an equestrian movie or an equestrian show, people cannot ride. They cannot stay in the saddle. They're like thumping on the horse's back. It is so bad. And I'm like, where did you find these people? Why did you just not spend the time to just hire people who could just ride and you could just train them in acting? Like, I don't think it's that deep. I'm like, where did you find these people? These people can't ride. So there's that situation. But honestly, like, when I look at movies that are so stereotypical, I don't know, I just think of like, I mean, Flicka is like one that definitely follows that arc, but only the first movie. And I know the Greening of Whitney Brown definitely follows that arc, but I love the Greening of Whitney Brown because I felt it was different with the fact that she like connected with a horse and she rode the horse to prom. Like, she rode Bob, the horse she bonded with, to prom. Riding a horse to prom is like every horse girl's dream. Like, I wish I lived in like a country city where everybody was riding horses and I could have taken like Santiago or Hero at the time to prom, because that would have been so iconic. Like, could you imagine just rolling up to prom and just being like, you know, everyone's like, I got this dress from like Nordstrom, or I got this dress from like, I don't know, like Prada or whatever, and then you just roll up and you're like, I got this dress from the barn. And you're just on this giant steed. Like, that's such a power move. And I don't know, I just, every time I went to school, I always pictured myself like riding my horse to school. I was like, how am I gonna ride my horse to school? It was so hard, like being like a horse girl and growing up in the city, because all I could think about was just how badly I wanted to ride my horse to school. Like, that's all I could think about, was just like, I need to be that girl that just rides her horse to school. Everybody's like, what the hell? Like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, why she bring a whole ass horse to this academic institution, that needs to be me. And if any of you guys got to do that, like, let me know, because that's literally, like, I feel like that's every horse girl dream, and that's definitely my dream, because I really wanted to do that. And I really just wanted to show the haters too, because like in middle school, horse girls get so much hate, but especially in middle school, and especially by like immature middle school boys, that most of them played hockey too. It's like, you dance on ice with a stick. Like, sit down, literally take several seats. Do not come for horse girls when you literally are like doing like one of the most like flamboyant sports on earth. And again, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with hockey, and there's nothing wrong with being flamboyant, but I just find that the people that are attracted to hockey like to overcompensate and say that they're not something when you probably do the sport that really falls into that category. I don't know if that was a very hot take, but I just feel like hockey is like a very flamboyant sport, and I don't know, I just feel like people should just own who they are. But anyways, if you're gonna make fun of horse girls, I'm gonna come for your sport. Being in middle school as a horse girl is the reason why my skin is so thick you can never knock me down, because I was a horse girl in middle school. Literally, fighting boys became my life. I would fight men. I mean, I still fight men now, but it was like more visceral back then, because I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for my honor. I was fighting with these little boys that claimed riding was not a sport and would say it over and over and over again. Horse riding is not a sport. And I'd be like, Jimmy, why don't you think horse riding is a sport? And then they would like say something stupid like, oh, I trail rode in Bermuda and it was the easiest thing ever, or oh, I rode on my dad's backyard farm on like the easiest horse that's literally trained to carry your butt around. Of course, Jimmy, riding wasn't hard because you never actually had to ride, because that horse was trained to carry your fat butt around. I don't understand, like, people that just do not understand that riding is a sport, because it's like, just come to the barn, ride my giant horse, get on Santiago, and I'm just gonna watch and see if you can get him to go. And not only that, but can you even trot him? And not only that, but can you even get him over the jump? And then not only that, can you stay over him over the jump? I don't think so. And there's like nothing I have to say or prove to people, because like, people are people. If they don't believe something's not a sport, they're never gonna believe it. But it's just like, I just want to watch you embarrass yourself. I challenge anybody who says that riding is not a sport to come ride my horse. I will literally pay money to watch you fall. Anyways, that was just my little spiel about being an equestrian, a horse girl in middle school, and having to defend my honor and argue with boys nonstop. If any of you guys are horse girls right now in middle school and you're currently dealing with really annoying men that don't understand that riding's a sport because they think that playing with balls all day makes them have a little sport, don't know what their obsession is with balls, I would just say that, like, just start owning that you're a horse girl and they'll leave you alone. Like, the minute I was like, I'm a horse girl, what about it? Like, and what? They literally couldn't say anything to me. They literally didn't have any rebuttal, and they ended up being like stuttering and then not being able to say anything, so then they just left me alone. So that is my advice to anybody who has to deal with like annoying men who don't understand the value of their sport. And I understand it's frustrating to always get like devalued, but just ignore it. Like, once you don't give people power over you, there's nothing people can do because you didn't give them power. Like, there's nothing they can do at the end of the day. So that is just my little rant about being a horse girl. But anyways, back to horse movies. I think we really are just like horse shows in general, but let's go into movies first because I really want to talk about Free Rein for a second. Does anybody remember the Netflix series Free Rein? It was like a show on Netflix with an equestrian who was also like a black lead, which was phenomenal at the time because to have like a black horse girl was just so iconic. And Jalen, she actually commented on my Instagram post once and I almost like died because I was so excited. I was like, Jalen! But essentially, like, you know, I think Free Rein is a really good example of a movie and a horse girl movie that actually took the stereotypical horse girl movie trope and actually did it correctly, because they had a very stereotypical theme, but the way they conducted it was really entertaining and just like really well done. Like, it was very funny, for one. Like, horse movies usually aren't that funny, or they have like really dry boomer humor. So to have like something that had like Gen Z humor and was like very current was just very well done. And then the characters were just lovable. Like, I loved Zoe. I loved her friends. I can't really remember her friend's name, but I loved the British girl who like had her horse named Bob. And the like villains of the show, there weren't really any villains, I would say, because everybody had like a come to Jesus arc. But I will say, like, the people that were presented bad, they all had really good character development. And like the mean girls were snobby, but like they were played really well. And I just really like Free Rein. I really think it was one of those equestrian movies that just set the bar. And when it got canceled, like, I don't know if anybody else had this, but I literally lost my crap. Like, I could not believe it when it got canceled, because I was like, this is such a good Netflix series. Netflix has a bad habit of canceling really good shows, and Free Rein was one of them. And if you're listening, Netflix, you better bring Free Rein back, because that was a really good show. And I don't care if like all the actors look older. I mean, most of them are in their 30s anyway, so they can't look that old. So bring it back. Find a way to revive that show, because that show was golden. It was just horse girl core. It was still a stereotypical horse girl movie, but it was done in the best way possible. The production was just really good, and I don't know, it was one of my favorite shows. I will say, like, actors really could not ride, and I'm still like, if you're going to make an equestrian movie, please get actors that can ride. But like, honestly, the fact, like, the plot of the movie is still so good regardless, that like, you know, it's worth having them like not be able to ride, like in my opinion. Today's episode of the Horse Girls podcast is sponsored by We Ride Together, and every single episode is sponsored by We Ride Together because they are the best. We Ride Together is an organization in the equestrian sport that actually stops sexual assault, harassment, bullying, and any forms of misconduct from happening in the sport. We Ride Together acts as a preventative measure to ensure that these cases stop happening and these issues just stop in a sport, because nobody really talks about it, but this is so prevalent in our sport and it's just not addressed. We Ride Together lets riders find a space and a community and helps them find the help they need. In any case that you have been bullied, any case that you've been harassed, any case you've made feel other, or any case that hopefully, you know, you've experienced trauma in the sport, We Ride Together comes in and will help you find the help that you need, help you report the incident, keep you anonymous and keep you safe, and provide you with the support and the resources that you need to heal and move on and hopefully receive justice. There is such a need for organizations like We Ride Together, especially in this equestrian sport, because I'm not even sure if there's a specific statistic, but I wouldn't be surprised if, because I know many equestrians have actually had cases of very bad harassment, very bad bullying, and have had to safe sport people. I've had to use safe sport before, and you know, Safe Sport is a really great resource to utilize, especially if you're going through a situation that has a lot of bullying or is just very painful. But it can be a very tough process. So We Ride Together is here to navigate and help riders through this process. I really recommend checking out We Ride Together. It was actually founded after a very severe case in the equestrian sport of a rider facing sexual harassment and having issues with just general misconduct in the sport. And We Ride It Together was founded to prevent this and stop this from happening. So you can play your part by supporting We Ride Together and checking them out on Instagram, but also checking out their website to ensure that sexual assault and these cases happening in the horse world come to a halt and don't happen again. So I really recommend checking out We Ride Together and playing your part to make the sport a better world and really make a difference. And if you can, that would just be amazing. And just spread the word. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on all socials. It's all linked here. And thank you, We Ride Together, for sponsoring the Horse Girls podcast and making a difference in the sport and making it a place for people to feel accepted and finally feel like they can get the justice or get the help that they need and deserve. So again, thank you, We Ride Together, for sponsoring the Horse Girls podcast and ensuring that this chaos of a mess stays up, because honestly, I really needed it. We love We Ride Together, and I'm so happy they're part of the Horse Girls podcast. Okay, let's go into horse shows because we need to wrap this up. Like actual horse shows, not like horse shows like as in competition, but like horse show. Okay, enough so I don't get swallowed by a bug. We're gonna talk about the Saddle Club. Did anybody grow up watching the Saddle Club? If you didn't grow up watching the Saddle Club, you probably had a shitty childhood, so I didn't make the rules. The Saddle Club is based, and let me tell you why. I have never ever seen a better show than the Saddle Club. Okay, the Saddle Club is the reason the Renaissance happened. The whole Reformation happened because of the Saddle Club. The American Independence Constitution thing got signed in 1776 because of the Saddle Club, and the Civil Rights Movement happened because of the Saddle Club. And yeah, I mean, Juneteenth is tomorrow, and that's also because of the Saddle Club. I'm kidding. Don't get me canceled, please. The Saddle Club is, I mean, it's a show of, I don't care what anybody says. Like, you could look at me and be like, oh, well, they can't ride in the Saddle Club. I do not care. I didn't ask you, okay? I didn't check in watching the Saddle Club to see if they had perfect equitation, okay? It doesn't matter. I watched the Saddle Club because I liked watching either Lisa fall off her horse, or I liked the storyline, I liked the drama, and I just like the realness of the show, okay? And can we just talk about how Veronica, I don't know what her actor's name, but in season 1 and 2, not season 3, because they changed the actors and then we don't even talk about that. But in season 1 and 2, Veronica is the best at, like, that child can act. Like, she is so rude. She's such a bitch, and that's why she's amazing. And the actor is just amazing in that show. I mean, she really want to slap Veronica across the face. She's such an asshole, and like, that is good acting. She really did such a good job with that character. And I just love how, like, at the end of the season, they also like gave Veronica like hella character development, but they switched the actors in the entire storyline in season 3. So in season 3, they literally like forgot about it, and like Veronica went back to being mean, and it's just like watching it, it's just like, wait, why is Veronica still rude? Like, didn't she like have a whole come to Jesus moment after like dating Scooter? How do I know this? Because I watch the Saddle Club like every year, and I'm not ashamed. It's a religion at this point, and I don't know, I feel like people found God through the Saddle Club. So I really like it just because it was the first horse show at its time to really show like true horse girl drama, and it showed like the raw life of like barn shit. Like, there was barn drama, which is real. Every equestrian deals with barn drama all the time. There was just like chaos with like the horses, which is so real. And was it dramatized a lot? Yes. And like, did those girls do horrible things like steal a horse in the middle of the night? Yes. But like, I feel like it just represents horse crazy very well. Like, you're telling me the average equestrian would not steal a sick horse? And how many of you watching this podcast, if you knew there was a horse next to your barn and this horse was sick, it was colicking, and the owner was known to be belligerent, he was known to be rude, and he didn't give 2 horseshoes about that horse dying, and the horse was malnutritious and all of that stuff, and you knew this guy didn't care about the horse regardless. Like, that neighbor does not like the horse, he wants it dead, so he's not caring if the horse is colicking, and the horse is right next to you, right? Would you go and just like steal the horse in the middle of the night? I feel like all of us would. You could call animal welfare, but like, how many times does animal welfare actually do anything like for horses or anything? You don't do anything. So you're better off just stealing the horse in the middle of the night and locking it in a shed and walking it until the vet comes, and then not telling the vet the truth, but using your money that you were going to use for a horse camping trip to pay for the vet bill. And then when all of your friends were like, oh my God, don't use that money, you're like, no, I'm just going to save this horse. Like, I have to save this. All of us would do that. All of us would do that. And that's why we can all relate to the Saddle Club, because all of us are crazy. Like, we're horse girls. We're psychotic. And I think it's okay to own that. Like, not the crazy psychotic that's like actually like tripping, like most horse people are. Like, I mean, like the sane psychotic, like caring about horses a lot, like doing stupid stuff in the name of like helping a horse. Like, I feel like that's justified, and I feel like these are cute lessons, and I just feel like the Saddle Club just has a very positive theme. The only thing I just didn't understand about the Saddle Club is why Lisa had to have like so many deaths. Like, why did she fall off her horse so many times? Why'd she get bit by a snake? What was that all about? I mean, Lisa, they just loved torturing her for no reason. I'm like, she went into a coma, falling off of like 2 foot. Like that's so terrible. So I don't know what did they get off of from abusing poor Lisa, but that's my only complaint with the Saddle Club. Other than that, it's an amazing show. And the next show I'm going to talk about is Heartland. So I actually started watching Heartland like when I was like 13, so I was a little older. And Heartland has a good synopsis. It has a good plot. It follows the character Amy and her husband Ty, who's now dead. And it follows their life of horses. And, you know, there's Grandpa Jack. He's like the head of the household. He's like the grandpa that's just like immortal. There's 2 Lindys, Lindy baby and Lindy grandma. And there's Lou, the sister, who's like the annoying, overcompensated one, and who's like kind of like the black sheep of the family because she's not really like a horsey girl. She's like a business girl. And then there's like Tim, who's like the estranged father, who's actually a really big asshole and like is generally not a good character. He's just there for like comedy relief because he's actually generally a horrible person. And then there is Georgie, who weirdly enough disappeared. But I love Alicia Newton. Alicia Newton is such a good actor. She's amazing. Like that, to follow Alicia Newton, like when she started acting, she was about like 9 years old, right? And she can cry on spot, and to do that, that's really hard. I can actually do that. I will not start doing it now. I might do it if I get another bug that flies up here, but it is a hard skill to do, and especially when you're 9 and there's cameras shoved in your face. So Alicia Newton is an incredible actor, and there was so many people who would complain in the Heartland like fandom that Alicia Newton gets too much screen time. And I never agreed with that. I think Georgie was the most fantastic character in the show. I think she was the most fantastic addition. And I understand that a lot of boomers do watch the show, but Georgie added something for the Gen Z. Georgie was the relatable for us who grew up watching it as kids. Like that, Georgie was that representation for us, and watching her like go from a child and then like finding out like guys exist and like just going through that phase and then just coming into her own, like beautiful character development. I think Georgie's a fantastic character and I miss her so much, and I really hope Alicia Newton comes back to the show, but obviously she's an incredible actor, so whatever show she's on, she's just gonna be amazing and iconic. So I don't agree with the Georgie hate. Anybody who hates Georgie can go suck it. And I also, getting back into the series, I'm going to talk about the controversial Ty's death. This is not a spoiler, so don't come at me and commenting like, spoiler alert! Ty has been dead for like 6 seasons, okay? So this is not a spoiler. I'm pretty sure even like the US is caught up on Ty's death. So like the US seasons on Netflix, even though like we're like 5 seasons behind like Canada. So Ty is dead. In Heartland, they decided to kill off like one of the main characters, Ty, because Graham Walrus decided to leave the show for, I don't know. I don't really understand what that was. So I know this happened back in 2020, and I know that there was some beef with the cast, right? I know Alicia Newton had beef, and Michelle, who plays Lou, also had beef with Ty's actor. I think they're all on good terms now, but back then there was some friction because Ty's actor just has some interesting, let's just say interesting political views. Not even just that, but it's like very scary conspiracy theories. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm like the person, like almost all conspiracy theories like for me are like true, but I'm talking like flat earther conspiracy theories. Like the curvature of the earth is there. I don't actually know if he's a flat earther. I don't think he is, but that was the type of conspiracy, like that was the type of level of conspiracy that he kind of is into. So you can already imagine what his views were on the whole COVID situation. Not great. So there was already like friction in the show. I don't think that the friction caused Graham to leave. I think Graham generally left the show because he wanted to do other things. Like, I generally believe that. I generally think Graham decided to leave the show because he wanted to do other things. Like, he generally wanted to explore other hobbies, and like that's totally fine. But I just feel like as a show with such a vital main character, it's almost like your responsibility to ensure like there's a long-term contract that like you cannot like dip out like that. Because like that just made no sense. After he died season 13 or 14, so after like 13 or 14 seasons of building up this love story that you wanted us all to follow, you just killed off the main character and you're just like, deal with it. Like, that is so, like, I can't. And like, I understand why people are mad about that, so I'm gonna give people credit for being upset, because like, that's crazy. Like, to kill off such a vital main character, like, that's insanity. I don't know, I just wouldn't do that. Like, that's just me though. Like, I would just have, like, I don't know why there's no contract in place that it's like, if you're a vital character, you cannot just dip the show like that. I think there's like the two ways they should have gone about it. I know this is very controversial, but maybe they should have just replaced the actor, but I don't think they even could, because I think Amber's connection to Graham was already so, like, they already have such a deep connection, like all the actors, because they've all grown up together, that you can't just bring a new Graham to replace it. Like, RFG's just so obvious. It was like when they replaced the entire Saddle Club season 3, like, it was so obvious nobody even wanted to watch the show anymore. I think like what I personally would have done if a vital main character just left the show like that, and I don't mean like Jack, like Jack's old, like if he dies, like that's just fine, but like it would be horrible and sad because he's actually my favorite character, and I would actually cry and like actually probably like jump in a pool and not breathe for air. But it would just be more understanding than Ty dying, because like Ty is like young and there's no reason for him to die, and I would have just ended the show. Like, literally, I just would have ended it like season 12. I thought it would have, you could have wrapped it up. Like, maybe you could have just filmed like a movie. Like, why did they just create like a movie? Like, when Graham was still in contract, when he was like, I'm gonna leave, they should have just done like a long form movie and wrapped up the entire series. That's what I would have done. But the show is continuing, and I don't necessarily mind that the show is continuing. I actually do like that they decided to continue the show. I'm just saying, like, for the general consensus, I think the smartest thing would have been to end the show, but personally, for me, I like that they did choose to continue the show. I actually do like the way, because the writers, don't get me wrong, like the writers of Heartland are good. The show is still good. Like, even with Ty's death, they are like the thing, it hasn't gotten that sad or depressing. Like, yeah, there's still like sad Amy moments, but it's like not that much that it deteriorates from the actual show. They've done a really good job moving past Ty's death. I think the only thing that just sucks for them is that their audience consists, like the Heartland audience consists of boomers who don't know how to accept change. So like, that's just the caveat of it, because honestly, Heartland is doing a good job. Like, they are doing a good job with the cards that they've been dealt. Like, a big character decided to leave, like, that sucks. And like, there was pressure from all sides. There were people screaming, continue the show. There were people screaming, like, end the show. So they decided to continue it. Would I have ended the show? I would have ended the show, but I'm not mad that they decided to continue it. And I actually love the new seasons. I think they're really well done, and they're focusing more on storytelling because they have to compensate for the fact that Ty's dead. I think that, like, people that are like, I'm not gonna watch the show because Ty's dead, like, you guys, people die. Like, people die in real life. Like, that's, things happen. Like, nothing is, I think, like, that's an important lesson, and people lose husbands, like, people lose wives, so these are important lessons for people to learn and relate to, you know what I'm saying? It's vital that people see those things in life, so I think it does a beautiful service to people who are dealing with that, and I think that's a good reason to continue the show. And I think the episodes are really well, and I think people need to get over it and realize that, like, Graham Ward is probably not coming back to the show, and if he does, like, good, fine, whatever, but he's probably not going back to the show, so just accept that he's dead and watch it, or don't. The world is still gonna revolve, I promise. We're still gonna wake up and your pants are still gonna fit in the morning. So that's my whole rant on Heartland. We were so off base in this episode. Like, we were so far from the original point of this episode. I don't even know what we were originally talking about. But I love when episodes do get like that and I just start rambling, because honestly, like, I can't follow a theme for the life of me because ADHD AF. And I'm gonna wrap this up because it's late, you guys. Like, I'm an old lady. I go to bed at 9. I don't do these late nights anymore. I'm sorry. I'm only 21 and I literally, like, have the lifestyle of a 40-year-old woman, and I love it. So thank you guys for watching the Horse Girls podcast. I hope you loved this episode. I hope you like, subscribe, and comment. If you don't comment, I will actually eat your brains. Like, I will just devour you and eat your kids and your children. So please comment on this podcast. Let me know what you want to see in the next episode. Boost this podcast, like, comment, and just, like, write me a diary. Go into the comments and type in the words, like I am a horse girl, and then just keep clicking the middle button and see how long you can get a paragraph and comment that. And I will like your comment. So yeah, thank you guys for watching the Horse Girl podcast. I hope you guys have a wonderful night wherever you're watching from, and yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. And let me know what guests you would like to see on the episode. Obviously, like, we have just started season 2, so we're back to the solo episodes just for now. Let me know if you want to see a guest. I'm gonna head out of here because I'm actually going to get eaten alive by bugs, and I'm actually really scared right now. So yeah, bye. Thanks for watching the Horse Girls podcast.